written in the same reconstructed narrative style inspired by the kinds of civil disputes commonly featured on the series rather than a verified transcript, begins with a lawsuit between a homeowner and a residential solar energy installation company over an allegedly defective rooftop solar panel system. Misleading promises regarding energy savings, repeated equipment failures, and disputed warranty obligations. The plaintiff, a recently retired electrical engineer, explains that after years of rising utility bills, he decided to invest in a complete residential solar energy system. Following several consultations with different companies, he selected the defendant because its representatives promised significant reductions in electricity costs, high-quality equipment, and a comprehensive workmanship warranty covering installation defects for 10 years. According to the plaintiff, the agreement included the installation of 32 rooftop solar panels, power inverters, battery storage equipment, monitoring software, and all necessary electrical upgrades. The defendant estimated that the system would offset nearly 90% of the home's annual electricity consumption while increasing the property's market value. Construction proceeded over several weeks, inspections were completed, and the local utility company approved the system for operation. Initially, the installation appeared successful, with the monitoring application showing consistent energy production and reduced dependence on grid electricity. The plaintiff testifies that problems began approximately 4 months after activation. The monitoring software repeatedly displayed equipment fault warnings, power production declined dramatically, and the battery storage system frequently disconnected from the electrical network. He contacted the defendant several times requesting warranty service. According to his testimony, technicians visited the property on multiple occasions, but only performed temporary software resets without identifying the underlying cause. As the failures continued, the plaintiff's electricity bills increased unexpectedly, eliminating many of the financial savings promised during the sales process. Frustrated by the repeated breakdowns, the plaintiff hired an independent licensed electrical contractor to inspect the installation. The contractor allegedly discovered improperly secured wiring connections beneath several roof-mounted panels, moisture intrusion within one inverter enclosure, and electrical connectors that did not fully comply with the manufacturer's installation guidelines. Concerned about both performance and long-term safety, the plaintiff authorized corrective repairs through another contractor and now seeks reimbursement for repair expenses. Lost energy savings during periods of reduced production, and additional inspection costs. The defendant disputes many of those allegations. According to the company's project manager, the solar equipment itself met every applicable industry standard and passed final inspection before being placed into service. He argues that several production interruptions resulted from software updates issued by the equipment manufacturer rather than defective installation. The defendant also claims that unusually cloudy weather during portions of the year naturally reduced energy generation and contributed to the plaintiff's disappointment regarding electricity savings. Furthermore, the company insists that the plaintiff authorized an independent contractor to modify the system before allowing the defendant sufficient opportunity to perform warranty repairs. Judge Judy immediately requests the installation contract together with warranty documentation, inspection reports, and records of service visits. The plaintiff produces detailed agreements describing expected system performance, warranty coverage, and the responsibilities of both parties following installation. Judge Judy carefully reviews the documents before asking whether the contract guaranteed specific dollar savings on utility bills. The plaintiff acknowledges that projected savings were estimates rather than absolute guarantees, but argues that the system never operated reliably enough to approach those estimates. Attention then shifts toward the alleged installation defects. The plaintiff introduces photographs taken during the independent inspection showing loose electrical connectors, water staining inside an inverter housing, and wiring that appears inadequately secure beneath the solar array. Judge Judy asks whether those photographs accurately depict the condition before any repairs were performed. The electrical contractor confirms that they do. An independent electrical engineer appears as an expert witness. After reviewing inspection reports, photographs, manufacturer specifications, and repair invoices, he concludes that several wiring connections were improperly torqued during installation, increasing electrical resistance and contributing to intermittent equipment faults. He also explains that inadequate sealing around one inverter enclosure likely permitted moisture intrusion during heavy rainstorms. Judge Judy asks whether those conditions would reasonably reduce energy production. The expert replies that intermittent electrical faults can significantly decrease system efficiency while also shortening equipment life if left unresolved. The defendant responds by presenting maintenance logs documenting several warranty service visits. According to the lead technician, software updates resolve many reported issues, and subsequent performance tests indicated acceptable energy production. Judge Judy asks why the same problems repeatedly reappeared after each service call. The technician explains that intermittent electrical faults are often difficult to diagnose and may not appear during brief inspection periods. Discussion then shifts toward the plaintiff's decision to hire another contractor. The defendant argues that independent repairs voided portions of the original warranty. The plaintiff responds that nearly 6 months of unsuccessful warranty service left him with no reasonable alternative. Judge Judy observes that warranties impose obligations upon both parties. Customers should allow reasonable opportunities for repair, but businesses must ultimately provide effective solutions rather than repeated temporary fixes. Closing arguments summarize the dispute. The plaintiff argues that he invested a substantial amount of money in a renewable energy system that never functioned as promised because of poor installation practices. The defendant maintains that most issues resulted from manufacturer software updates, weather variations, and premature interference by another contractor. Judge Judy carefully reviews the installation contract, warranty provisions, inspection reports, expert testimony, service records, photographs, utility bills, and correspondence before announcing her decision. She concludes that the independent expert's testimony convincingly establishes several installation deficiencies that should have been corrected under the workmanship warranty. Although fluctuations in weather naturally affect solar production, the repeated electrical faults and moisture intrusion demonstrate that portions of the installation failed to meet reasonable professional standards. Judge Judy awards the plaintiff reimbursement for the documented cost of correcting the defective installation together with reasonable engineering inspection fees. However, she declines to award the full amount requested for projected energy savings because those calculations remain partially speculative and depend upon numerous variables beyond the defendant's control. Before dismissing the parties, Judge Judy offers practical advice to homeowners and renewable energy contractors. Installation companies should document every stage of electrical work carefully, respond promptly to warranty claims, and permanently resolve recurring technical problems instead of relying upon temporary repairs. Homeowners, meanwhile, should preserve monitoring records, utility bills, and service documentation whenever disputes arise concerning system performance. The litigants leave the courtroom with a balanced resolution. The homeowner recovers compensation necessary to correct the installation defects, while the solar company is reminded that rapidly advancing technology does not diminish the importance of careful workmanship and dependable customer service. Judge Judy concludes the case with another familiar lesson. Promises about future savings mean very little if the work performed today cannot withstand careful inspection tomorrow. Continues with a second case involving a dispute between the owner of a custom furniture workshop and a married couple who ordered a handcrafted dining room set, centering on allegations of delayed delivery, defective craftsmanship, unauthorized design modifications, and refusal to pay the remaining balance under the contract. The plaintiff, a master furniture maker with more than 20 years of experience building handcrafted hardwood furniture, explains that the defendants visited his workshop after seeing examples of his work at a regional home design exhibition. According to his testimony, the couple commissioned a custom 12-seat dining table made from solid walnut together with matching chairs, a buffet cabinet, and a display hutch, because every piece would be built entirely by hand using premium hardwood. The estimated completion time was approximately 5 months. The parties signed a detailed agreement specifying dimensions, wood species, stain color, hardware selections, and a payment schedule consisting of a deposit followed by a final payment upon delivery. The plaintiff states that construction progressed normally during the first several months. Lumber was specially ordered. Individual boards were carefully selected for matching grain patterns, and progress photographs were regularly sent to the defendants. During construction, however, the defendants requested several design changes, including extending the table length, modifying the chair backs, adding decorative carvings to the buffet cabinet, and replacing the originally selected finish with a darker stain. According to the plaintiff, each modification required additional labor and delayed completion. Although he accommodated every request, the project ultimately exceeded the original completion date by nearly 8 weeks. When the furniture was finally delivered and assembled inside the defendant's home, the couple allegedly expressed satisfaction and complimented the workmanship. Several days later, however, they contacted the plaintiff claiming that the stain color appeared uneven in natural sunlight. 2 dining chairs rocked slightly on hardwood flooring, and several decorative carvings differed from the original design sketches. The defendants refused to pay the remaining balance, insisting that the furniture failed to meet the quality promised in the contract. The defendants dispute the plaintiff's version of events. According to their testimony, they fully expected a handcrafted product, but believed the finished pieces contained unacceptable imperfections for furniture costing several $1,000s. The wife explains that portions of the tabletop reflected light differently, making the finish appear inconsistent during the day. The husband also argues that several drawers within the buffet cabinet did not close smoothly, and that one chair developed a visible crack near the seat only weeks after delivery. They insist the plaintiff repeatedly promised to correct the problems, but failed to do so despite numerous requests. Judge Judy immediately requests the written contract together with any approved design revisions. The plaintiff produces the original agreement as well as several emails documenting the defendant's requests for larger dimensions, darker stain, and additional decorative carving. Judge Judy carefully reviews the correspondence before asking whether revised completion dates were ever discussed after the changes. The plaintiff points to email exchanges acknowledging that additional work would require extra time. Attention then shifts toward the alleged craftsmanship defects. The defendants introduce photographs showing subtle variations in the wood grain, the cracked chair, and one drawer that appears slightly misaligned. Judge Judy studies the photographs carefully before asking whether the furniture had been inspected by an independent expert. The defendants confirm that they hired an experienced furniture restoration specialist after the dispute developed. The restoration specialist appears as an expert witness. After examining every piece, he concludes that the furniture was constructed using high-quality materials and traditional woodworking methods. He explains that natural hardwood frequently displays variations in grain pattern and stain absorption, particularly in large solid wood tabletops. However, he also confirms that the cracked chair resulted from an improperly relieved joint that expanded as the wood adjusted to the home's indoor humidity. Judge Judy asks whether repairing that defect would require replacing the entire chair. The expert replies that a proper repair is possible without rebuilding the complete piece. The plaintiff responds by explaining that he repeatedly offered to repair the chair and adjust the drawers under the warranty provided with the furniture, but the defendants refused access to their home after withholding final payment. Email correspondence introduced into evidence shows several proposed repair appointments that were postponed or canceled by both parties due to scheduling conflicts. Discussion broadens into the differences between handcrafted furniture and factory-produced products. Judge Judy explains that custom woodworking naturally involves small variations in grain, color, and texture because every piece of hardwood is unique. Customers commissioning handmade furniture should expect character rather than perfect uniformity. At the same time, functional defects such as unstable chairs or sticking drawers should be corrected promptly under a reasonable warranty. The defendants argue that paying premium prices entitled them to flawless workmanship. The plaintiff responds that he delivered exactly what had been requested, including every design modification added during construction, and remained willing to correct the few minor issues that developed after delivery. Closing arguments summarize the disagreement. The plaintiff argues that the defendants accepted and continue using the furniture while refusing to honor the final payment required under the contract. The defendants maintain that they should not be required to pay in full until every promised correction has been completed. Judge Judy carefully reviews the contract, photographs, expert testimony, emails, invoices, design drawings, and warranty provisions before delivering her decision. She concludes that the furniture substantially conforms to the parties' agreement, and that most complaints relate to the natural appearance of handcrafted hardwood rather than defective workmanship. However, she agrees that the cracked chair and minor drawer adjustments fall within the plaintiff's warranty obligations and should have been repaired promptly. Judge Judy orders the defendants to pay nearly the entire remaining contract balance, but reduces the amount slightly to reflect the reasonable cost of repairing the defective chair should the plaintiff fail to complete the repair within 30 days. She further orders the plaintiff to honor his workmanship warranty by correcting the chair and adjusting the buffet drawers without additional labor charges. Before dismissing the parties, Judge Judy offers practical advice to artisans and customers alike. Craftsmen should clearly explain the natural characteristics of handmade products before accepting commissions, while customers should distinguish between genuine defects and the unique variations that make handcrafted furniture valuable. The litigants leave the courtroom with a practical resolution. The furniture maker receives compensation for months of skilled labor while remaining responsible for honoring his warranty, and the homeowners receive assurance that legitimate defects will be corrected without unfairly avoiding payment for custom work they continue to enjoy. Judge Judy concludes the case with another familiar observation. True craftsmanship deserves fair compensation, but true craftsmanship also stands behind its work long after the final delivery.